Israel took a preemptive strike against Iran, something that we were expecting that something would happen. And of course, it developed overnight in a pretty big way. We've all been watching the news as they have targeted some of the sites that they believe were being developed for enrichment of whether it was nuclear war or nuclear bombs or whatever it may be. They were getting to the point of no return.
This strike had over 200 Israeli aircraft striking over 100 targets, including the nuclear enrichment sites, as well as taking out top military leaders. They basically wiped out the head of the IRGC, that's the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, as well as other top military leaders in the army. And they did this with precision strikes, many times taking them out in their penthouse apartments by very surgically putting bombs where they needed to be to minimize civilian casualties. But it was impressive. It was broad in scope. It is not over. But what we have seen now is Iran is in disarray. They have lost their top military leadership. They've also lost their ability to defend Tehran against airstrikes because the air defense systems were taken out by Mossad.
This operation was done from inside Iran by the Israelis. And so it would lead one to say, how long have they been inside? What were they doing? And what is that strategy? But it was done from the inside. And again, this was unilateral action from Israel. This was something that the president was trying to avoid, President Trump. And what we try to tell every single country that we're having conflict with is that there is a path for talks.
The threat of a nuclear Iran is not new. What was new is their capability had reached a point basically of no return. If you didn't act now, you would have an Iran with a nuclear weapon. Now, that would destabilize, of course, the Middle East, but it would also put all of us, including the United States, at tremendous risk. Risk not from a bomb or a weapon, although they are quite capable of trying to attack U.S. interests in the Middle East, but also you got to realize something, then it could affect the world distribution of oil. I mean, on and on it goes. But you could not have a situation where Iran would get a nuclear weapon. It's a theocracy. It's a theocracy based on an attempt or a worldview that they have that Israel is the little Satan and the United States is the big Satan. So we can't ignore that. The president was very clear with Iran. They had 60 days to get to the table and get a deal done. They didn't do it. And on the 61st day, Israel attacked. So I think we're looking at a new world order of sorts, not in the sense of apocalyptic, but that the Iranian regime, I think you're going to see regime change at the end of this because the Iranian people, especially the people under 50, want freedom and liberty. They had it before. They want it again. So I'm actually optimistic that this latest action is going to result in a reshaping in the Middle East that will be very, very positive.
President Trump has made some pretty strong statements about what has happened with this. And this is, I'm going to read actually his statement from Truth Social from this morning, because there was talk, we were talking, Will, last night, and Dad, we were talking about how CNN was starting to spin this as the first time Israel was not being supported by a U.S. government as Israel headed into war, saying that maybe this was the Trump administration softening their support on Israel. And here is what President Trump said just this morning. I gave Iran chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it, but no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told, that the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They are all dead now, and it will only get worse. There has already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it's too late. God bless you all. And of course, Dad, I wanted to get your feedback on this. President Trump makes this statement, of course, not saying, hey, we fully support what Israel's doing, but saying, we warned you this was going to happen. And, you know, and always trying to kind of play the middleman, but clearly the middleman leaning one direction.
Yeah, look, Okay, we've been around this a long time. We know the politics. We know how it works on geopolitical, diplomatic statements. The United States is not involved per se, but the president said it exactly correct. The weaponry, the artillery, the missiles, the aircraft utilized in this attack from Iran were American assets that we sold to the Israelis. And that scope of the weaponry, the Iranians could not defeat. It was executed flawlessly. There's no daylight between the United States and Israel on this. The president, I want everybody that's listening to think about this. President Trump was very clear. One thing you have to say about this president is he's very clear. He gave him 60 days. On the 61st day, the leadership of the Iranian military, the Revolutionary Guard, is dead. Yeah, I think that says the whole thing.
Marco Rubio and President Trump made it clear that this was unilateral action. This was the actions of the Israelis, and it was not the action of America. And that we continue, Donald Trump continues in the midst of all of this to be a realist, to say, look, there's still a second chance here. You've got a lot of dead leaders. You have been funding terrorism. Why don't we talk about this issue? Why don't we try to come to some sort of a diplomatic solution? So I still see President Trump doing exactly what President Trump does best, which is to give people an off-ramp, to give countries an off-ramp. They're dealing with the consequences that Israel has put forward. And certainly the United States knew what was going to happen, but this was unilateral action, and now President Trump comes in and says, I continue to be the president for peace. I want to talk about peace. You just have got to take the talks.
A headline just popped up. This is from Governor Tim Walz.
These are the things that make you thankful that he is not the vice president of the United States.
There's a lot of things to be thankful for that reason.
But he was being interviewed and was asked about Israel's preemptive strikes, and this is the quote that he gave back. Iran has to retaliate in their mind, I'm sure, and now who's the voice in the world that can negotiate some type of agreement in this? Who holds the moral authority?
All right, pause. I'm going to let everyone want to fill in the blank of who you think that moral authority is. Is it going to be America? Who is it going to be?
Well, he says
United Kingdom?
He says we are not seen as a neutral actor. It might be the Chinese. Governor Tim Walz.
Okay. This is absurd. And that's why my favorite senator of the Democratic Party in the United States Senate is Senator Fetterman. Because he said, back Israel and eliminate the leadership of Iran. Tim Walz, thank the Lord he is not the vice president of the United States.